It is the Lake Highlands Boneyard podcast, first edition, and Coach Jordan off and running with a 21-0 lead. I don't think the other day I really properly introduced myself. I'm Matt Mosley. I used to be with 103.3 FM ESPN for a lot of years and have written for the morning news and ESPN.com. We had a 10-year run on the radio, and we did so well that the station is now a religious station. So we really tore it up. But no, we did have a great run, and now I am on every afternoon, ESPN Central Texas, which is Waco, North Austin, College Station. You used to spend a little time down that direction, but it's my alma mater, Baylor's flagship. And so people that know me know I probably talk about Baylor too often, and I actually do it every day now. But I do it right here from Lake Highlands. So we appreciate everybody who's been subscribing and excited about the podcast, and Coach Jordan and I are going to have a lot of fun with it. And Coach, I was sitting up there, I got to say, in the first half, and it was 7-0. And of course, the expectation is if you beat a school pretty badly the year before, it's like, wait, why is the score? Why are they not up by more than this? So I have to say, I was thinking, well, this will be an interesting first podcast with a few turnovers and all of that. What was the Coach Jordan halftime talk like? Did you factor in that it was early in the season? It was a calm Coach Jordan, or was this a pretty stern talk that you had at halftime?
Yeah, it was more wheels off than anything else. It was we're replacing a lot of kids, so it's a young team. We have 2 returners starting on offense, and so we knew that that we were going to have. I mean, it was going to be a bumpy road at the beginning, and so we're prepared for this. I don't know that the kids really understood that it was going to be bumpy at the beginning, but we got a lot of kids that are playing. They played their first varsity snap last night, and so there's a lot of good to take away from it. And I'll be just real with you. And I was telling the kids, I told the coaches, this is my 28th year coaching, and that was the first game that I've ever won where I had 5 turnovers. So as disappointing as it was, what a blessing for us to be able to come out of that game with a win. You've got an opportunity to learn a lot of things. Today we had a 2-hour practice, and I bet you an hour and 30 minutes of that was ball security. So I don't know, as far as X's and O's and scheme and all of that, we'll work on some more of that tomorrow, but the expectation will be that we hold on to the football. So, disappointing in a lot of areas, but again, going back to look at it and being able to get a win. And I'm sure you'll ask some of these questions, but the defense, man, and we've got 7 returners back on defense. So it's a veteran group who's played, at the varsity level. The speed of the game was not too much for them, and we had their backs against the wall, and for them to be able to keep us in it and allow us to get some things fixed moving down the stretch was good. So anyway, kind of a rough first half, but we finished it out, and we're happy with that.
I kind of liked watching, though, the defense, as I sometimes if the offense is struggling a little bit or turning the ball over, you can see the defense get frustrated, and you've seen it happen at all levels. And I got the sense during that game the defense almost sort of welcomed that challenge. It's not like they wanted these change of possessions, but when they went back out there, it was not like, oh my gosh, can we get a rest? Yeah. It was kind of like, this is a good opportunity. Yeah. And then those takeaways, I mean, we can, it's the glass half full or half empty. You can talk about the turnovers that I know frustrate you, but then you equaled that out with the takeaways you got on defense. And I thought that was, I thought the attitudes were good. And then on the few occasions when they got it down in the red zone, it seemed like that's when things stiffened for the defense. And to get those red zone, that's kind of backbreaking, both for you guys on offense, but then what you did to them on defense. Right. Because their crowd was trying to get into it, they're driving, and then you get that pick down there. I think it was one of your safeties on that early one, and that was big because that kind of turned them away.
Yeah, it was. And so we matched them when it came to, forcing turnovers and getting the ball back. And, our defense, again, veteran group, guys have played before. and they have been waiting for this opportunity to show what they can do. And they had a great spring, they had a great summer. Their off season last year was incredible, and they just have a mindset that they want. Those guys feel like they can do it, and they're going to be challenged in different ways this year. But to have a group of kids, group of young men that have that kind of confidence in their ability to play the game, and they love each other, right? I mean, they're playing for each other out there, and so. The moment was not too big. Whether we turned it over on our end of the field or we're in the plus, when we turned it over, they were ready. They ran out, and you're exactly right. The attitudes were great. We're picking our kids up on the sideline. The offense, we're trying to pick them up and make adjustments and this and that. And the defense was just ready. They're warriors. So, and credit to Coach Pascuzzi and the defensive staff and the job they did getting those kids ready to play. But the great thing about having kids who have done it before is just the multiple looks and things. And, I wouldn't want to play our defense, especially this early in the year. They can drop 8 or they can rush 6 and play different games in the back end and with multiple coverages and mixed coverages, and so they were able to get a lot of looks. And you mentioned the first, that early pick. What a great story that is. That's Wesley Scott. One of our phenomenal baseball players who has not played football since he was a freshman. It went straight baseball and has been doing a great job for the baseball team. And he came to me this summer and said, "Coach, I really, I miss football and want to play again." And in his first varsity football game ever, he comes out in the first quarter and gets a pick that allows us to go on and change the momentum of a game. So we're happy to have Wesley, and man, what a great job he did.
It is interesting when you talk about the multiple looks. I was watching Pascuzzi, and I like watching him on the sideline. He gets after him. But, he likes to wait. You've seen him do this to the very last minute. And I'll see him with his hands up in the air. And I guess what he's doing is he doesn't want to show too early. Right. And then I think it speaks to how the veteran nature of that defense, it seems like once he communicates, even if it's just a couple seconds before the snap, everybody gets in the right alignment. And it did seem like he was doing that a lot and maybe just waiting to see what their personnel was going to be or how they were going to set up. But it gave them some problems. And, quite honestly, they hit some deep balls, some kind of jump ball type situations. And they had a quarterback who, at least from the stands, looked like he was about 6'3" or 6'4", real long guy. So he could throw it downfield. So it's not like they didn't have some athletes out there, but I thought that was interesting how, at the last second they would get in that alignment, and it did seem to bother Mesquite Poteet.
Yeah, so most of our, defensive sets are going to be based on, tendencies. We're going to run the tendencies. We know the things they can do out of certain formations or the things they've shown they'll do. And so for the most part, when they line up, our kids know what's coming. Anytime a coach is going, if he checks a play at the line of scrimmage, then we will check that defense. And, they're trying to find out what we're in so they know what to call, and we want to see what they're in so we know what to call. But you're right. When you got kids out there that have done it, they understand it. They already have a preset notion of what we are about to do to this, to this formation. Then it becomes easy to give, just a couple little tweaks right there at the end.
And then, to think about last year when I was familiar with Shalom Peter as your kicker. And then I'm watching, and you've always had guys that are willing. Jeremiah was the guy in the past that could go both ways. And you do seem to have more depth and more players down the sideline and everything. But I'm looking out there and I'm like, I think that's the kicker making a lot of tackles at linebacker. That's kind of a nice thing, isn't it, to have somebody that's a good kicker but also can is a pretty big dude. What is he, 195 or somewhere in there? And he was making plays. He's a kicker who likes to hit, likes contact.
So we had, I think it was Will Ferris. Will Ferris was our kicker. Will graduated, and we've had a line of kickers here. Will went on to Vanderbilt to kick. We had Taft Nickel before him, who went to, was it Fordham? I believe he went to Fordham. to kick there. And anyway, we've had a long line of kickers. Well, Will graduates. We don't have a kicker in the program, and so we're looking around. Well, I went. I go to soccer games in the winter, so I'm down at soccer games, and I know the Peters. We coached his older brother Darlington was one of our offensive linemen, and so and Shalom, my daughter's a senior, Shalom's a senior. They went to junior high together, so they know one another. He's a great kid, and we're at the halftime of a soccer game, and I pulled him aside. Don't tell the soccer coaches this, but I pulled him aside at the soccer game, and I said, Shalom, I said, you ought to come out and kick for us. You can still play soccer. You can do everything you're doing. Just come out and kick. And I hope you guys get a chance to meet him. He's an incredible kid. Always has a big smile on his face, very respectful. So he said, yes, sir, I think I'll try. And so he did. He came out and he kicked. And last year, especially when we're playing familiar foes. So, whether it's Richardson or Pierce or Burton or whatever, those coaches would come out and say, God, your kicker would start at linebacker for us. And I said, yeah, he's a good looking kid. He runs well. He's a soccer player, so he's got great feet. Anyway, this year and we'd asked him, hey, you need to try out for slot receiver, or you need to, look at playing linebacker. No, coach, I just want to kick. And anyway, this year he says, you know what, coach, I want to play linebacker. And so we put him out there, and it was rough at first. So Shalom hasn't played football since junior high. And now he's a senior. His junior year he just kicked. That's all he did. Well, last night, guys, he had 15 solo tackles. In his first varsity game, he's got 15 solo tackles. He's all over the place. He's one of the Dallas Morning News Players of the Week, and they're coming out Wednesday. They're going to come out and do an interview with Shalom because the story is just incredible. That stuff doesn't happen. So we're excited for him, and man, what a great job he did. We didn't know if he'd be able to win the job or not. And then, he went out there and he never got nervous, the game was just never too big for him, and so that's fun to see a kid that's got that.
Isn't it fun to like some of these families that you're like, man, I hope this family doesn't run out of younger brothers. Yeah. I mean, you got I was looking and I'm like, wait, there's another Hutton out there.
Yeah.
And I mean, he just steps in.
Yeah.
His brother, I think, went off to Texas Tech now and was maybe thinking about walking on out there. But there was a guy who just, stepped right in for you. So it seemed like the safety, the linebacker play was exceptional. And then your defensive end, number 4, was extremely active. I mean, it's just fun to watch some of these guys that are, they want to make every tackle.
Right.
Your Lucas Shaw earlier in the game, I thought, oh my gosh, they're calling his name over and over. So I would think you had several players that ended up with multiple tackles.
We did. I mean, it was great. We started with the safeties. Wesley Scott had an interception. Carson Klein, who's a 3-year starter for us, and he's a preseason favorite to be defensive MVP for our district. He has 2 interceptions in the game. Shep Jenkins, our new Mike linebacker. Shep had, he had an interception, and the forced turnover piece is big. Sam Hutton not only plays linebacker and did a great job playing linebacker for us last night. He's a physical kid. He runs well, moves well, but he's also our deep snapper. And so he snapped the ball back to Shalom, who was punting, and then runs down the field and is the first one, and I mean, he just smokes the returner. Shalom Peter, and typically, and this is the way we've drawn it up, the way everybody in America does, we, on our kickoff team, we kick off, and then the kicker is a safety.
Yeah.
When we look and we're watching the film, and he kicks it off, beats the ball down there, and Shalom makes the tackle on the. So we've got to redraw that.
I had to do a double take on that. I'm like, how did the kicker?
But those. So it goes back to those kids are having the ball. They believe in themselves, and we've got to clean some things up. But they're having a ball and playing really well. So
I'm surprised Coach Pascuzzi didn't just show himself in tonight. I mean, after that performance, just to kind of walk on set. I could see him. I've had the pleasure of playing some golf with him at some of our Wildcat Opens or Classics, and he's a great guy. You have a fun staff, don't you?
We do. Yeah. It's I'm very fortunate, very blessed to have the group of guys I have. They work hard. They're knowledgeable. They're good for kids, and they're fun. They can cut loose and have a good time. I think our office is probably the most coveted place in the whole building at Lake Highlands. People want to come and just listen to, Pascuzzi's one of the best storytellers you'll ever hear. So maybe we'll have him on here one day. He won't be as dry as me. He'll cut you up a little bit. but no, good staff, good kids. Talking about Shaw, undersized player who is just all over the field. And I think we have those types of kids. And then, and offensively, we're you look at last night, and the first drive was an 8-play drive before we fumbled the ball. Mm-hmm. So we're about to go, I believe we're about to go stick that one in. We had, again, 5 total turnovers. One of those fumbles was into the end zone. So we're on the 2-yard line, 3-yard line, whatever it is, and he fumbles into the end zone. That's points taken off the board. We were down in the red zone and threw an interception. Again, if we don't make that throw, that's a touchdown. I mean, you go back and look at it. We had 460 yards of offense. Trip Holly he threw for. Let me get my glasses on here.
You want my prescription shades?
I may need some. We had 440 yards of total offense. Trip threw for 167. He ran for 112, I think. Mm-hmm. In his first varsity game, and then Deontay Dean only played a half, and he had 116, 120 yards rushing with a touchdown. Shamar Donaldson, a great player. A 3-year starter for us. And he's one of those guys that plays both ways. He got hurt in the first series of the game. I think it was the third play of the game he gets hurt. So he's on a boot. He's in a boot on the sideline, which kind of shakes everything up.
Yeah.
He's our H. He's our corner. He's our backup running back. And so when Dean cramped up, you're down. And the guys that played in his with his injury, they played valiantly. They just they didn't have the reps that those two guys had. So a lot of things offensively kind of took a left turn for us, but they're easy things to clean up. And so we're really excited if we can get these two units, working together.
Can you give us any update on Shamar? Are you more of a Saban-esque? You don't share any injury news?
I'd like to be a lot like Saban. But in regards to the injury, he's got an ankle sprain, and it's a pretty good one, and we're gonna, he's in treatment. He was in treatment multiple times today, and we'll see how he looks for Friday night, and if he can't, then hopefully we'll have him back for Highland Park.
Yeah. And you've got some great athletic trainers and folks that work in that area.
Amazing. Yeah.
I found out after a concussion over at the junior high, my daughter, and I was watching her last night, and they were trying to get her, Friday night, and Deontay, they were using all, and even the Theragun came out. That was nice. That's one of the things I love about high school. I think I watched Deontay's little sister go running down to get an injury update, like during the game. She was like. She had to go tell mom, what was going on.
Yeah.
But it was, even Deontay, and I've watched him in the past. You had Noel, who was so fast and possible to bring down just because he was so quick. I was noticing before he was obviously banged up in that game, but Deontay's a bigger, more of a glider, and though, it will have to clean up some of the turnovers, he really does have a good sense of finding the holes and being patient. And I feel like that's a tough thing for a high school back to do. You want to get the ball and you want to go.
Yeah.
And I don't know, just from watching the little bit that we saw of him the other night, it really does seem like he's a pretty patient back.
Yeah, he is, and we work on that. But Deontay's very talented. Deontay's going to be, you look at, we had Noel Whitehead for 3 years. It was his sophomore year we brought him up. He broke his collarbone, and so Tyson Washington stepped in. Tyson did a great job. He was a completely different type of back, and he was a bigger kid, more kind of run over you type, whereas Noel was just so elusive. And Deontay is kind of a mix of those, doesn't have the top end speed that Noel had, but he can be physical. He's got good vision. He's got a great skill set. He can catch the ball. Last year, he played multiple positions for us. We used Deontay at outside receiver last year, slot receiver, and then usually in the second half of ball games last year, he was our running back. So he has a tremendous upside, and we're going to have, and he's got 2 years left. So he's going to have a great year this year. I believe that. And, and then that's going to set him up for his senior year. So, yeah, he's got all the tools.
Yeah, and the other offensive players I always like to highlight. It's not always easy from the stands. You can look at the film, and I actually just ran into your offensive line coach before we started the show tonight. And man, you got some size. I mean, there have been years where it's smaller, quicker dudes. I mean, I saw on the roster 320-pound guys, 285, 280. I mean, you've got some mass. And I just guess you got to get those guys on the same page, moving in the right direction. But it really does seem like you have the makings of a pretty solid O-line.
Yeah. So they're big kids, and we've got quite a few of them. But that's it. They're young, and they're either young or they're inexperienced, and so it's going to take us a little while. The offensive line, and I think anybody that you talk to that's in the game, that's a unique group. There's not any individualism there. They have to work together as a unit, and it's complicated. There's a lot of checks, and defenses are moving around and so they have to really understand the game plan. And then in the age of spread offenses where we just everything is communicated from the quarterback to the line, as you get into these no huddles and things like that. So. There is a learning curve, but as soon as we'll get them there, but and really pleased with the progress they've made from spring football to this first game. But I think by the time I think each game, they're just going to get a little bit better and a little bit better, and we are all looking for the moment when they gel because again, Deontay has the ability to really be a difference maker. To be able to protect Tripp. We've got some good receivers on the outside, and Ian Mowdy and Nimio Sorolor. We've got Jack Schreiner that's playing for us now, and then of course Shamar Donaldson. So with those guys, if we can protect Tripp, give him time to create reads and do those things, and then hit him with Deontay. It's got the makings of an exciting offense, and I think historically we've done a good job of getting our kids where they need to be, and we're just dealing with the youth of it right now. So, but we'll get them there.
Tripp runs for over 100 yards. You got two players. Deontay goes over 100. Did you feel like? I saw him take a few hits right after he released the ball. Obviously, you want to minimize some of those kind of free shots that they get at him. How'd you like, his decision making in terms of when to run, when to throw? I know he's a big guy, and I've seen him grow up over the years, but to see him get out in the open field, how about that little spin move? Yeah, I don't remember his dad having any of that, but there was some nice open field spin moves that came out.
So the spin move was new to us too. We didn't know he had it in his repertoire, but apparently he does. Yeah, I thought he did a great job. We ran, we had some read plays for him where he's he's having to read the end man on the line of scrimmage to determine whether he gives it or keeps it, and I thought he did a great job, of reading it, and he had enough acceleration, and then some vision downfield. I thought he scored on one going down the sideline, but no, he did. He was more than adequate for what we need. And we in year out we get different types of quarterbacks. If you go back to you could go back to a Marcus Stiggers, or even a Stephen Holly, but but we had, Jackson Thompson here for several years, and Jackson was man, he was a great athlete, but kind of a prototypical pocket passer. But he could extend plays, get out of the pocket, do great things. And then Mitch Colson, one of the toughest players I've ever coached, and Mitch was like a running back that could throw the ball, and so it was fun to have him out. And now we've got Tripp, who's kind of like a Jackson, and we're really looking forward to seeing what he can do when it comes time to extend a play or get out of the pocket or do some of those things. And we were pleased with him.
Let me add Ryan Smith. He'll be upset if we don't mention him, Dr. Ryan Smith, on that list of illustrious quarterbacks along the way. Ball security. I mean, you spent time on it. What can you do to shore that up? Is it just kind of constantly, just reminding guys? Because obviously you probably felt pretty good there, and then you get into a game and it's like, oh gosh, they're stripping and going for the ball and everything like that. What do you do to try to shore that aspect up? Well,
there's there's a lot of things, and I think one is just now everybody can see the elephant in the room. We had no idea. If you'd asked me a week ago, are you going to have 5 turnovers, 4 fumbles, and an interception in your first ball game, I'd say absolutely not. Because we do work on ball security, we do those things, but it was one of those things that happened, and now I think the shocking thing was for the kids. Now they have a reason to pay attention to the little things, and then of course I start every when I'm talking to the team, I start every speech with it, and I end every speech with it. So they're hearing it constantly. They're going to build confidence in their ability to protect that football. I think pad level was part of it, and that's something that happens early in the year. You haven't played a different opponent or been full speed like that in a while, and so it's part of getting into game shape and getting into game speed. So pad level will fix that. Today we were giving out Gatorades to the JV or our scout team. So if our scout team could get a fumble during a team segment, then we would give those JV players or those scout team players Gatorades. And so we didn't have a turnover today in practice, and it'll get better. Part of it is just recognizing it, and we preach so many things, and paying attention to the little things, paying attention to the details is important. But a lot of times a young person, it's minutia to them a little bit. Well, now ball security is a big deal at Lake Highlands, so I would expect that we don't do that much more.
All right, I can tell by your face that you made your point, and they'll move on. I want to remind people that Eagle Cleanup, our presenting sponsor, Mike Black, who went here to Lake Highlands and was part of some of those 90s teams, and he'll haul off work site, they'll haul off any sort of trash, bricks, whatever's there, and then the next site, people come in and go, hey, this is looking great, it's good advertising. There's a lot of different ways you can use that Eagle Cleanup. And Coach Jordan, you'll be happy to know that in addition to Eagle Cleanup, I've started getting all sort of messages today. People are like, how do I sponsor? And we'll figure out a way that people can help this program and get plugged in. But it seems like they're all in construction, the guys they must be doing pretty well in that area. But, well, this has been fun, and we'll dig in each week. And there's a lot of guys to praise, and you're right. That some of those, it's interesting, those receivers, every once in a while somebody gets hurt, it's the next man up kind of thing. And I like how you all spread them out. And I saw a sophomore out there. Your sophomore, Leland, I used to see him like in junior high. And I was like, who's that kid who's so dang tall? And he was already like this height when he was in 7th, 8th grade, I think, like 6'3". And I heard, it's always funny when, there's somebody maybe doesn't know how many snaps they'll get, right? And then I'll hear all y'all on the sideline screaming, the name of the kid.
Yeah.
Boom, you're in. So the good thing is, does it seem like you have bigger numbers? You have more numbers
Yes.
in all the programs right now? I mean, I even looked at the varsity, and it seemed like there were more guys down there.
Yeah, we do, and it's. I think it's a testament to the program was trending as far as numbers. We were doing well. I mean, we had more kids coming out. I think more kids were having a really good experience playing the game, and then COVID hit and numbers dipped a little bit. And so on the back end of COVID, I think we're getting back. We're seeing that trend. Our freshman football team has around 80 kids on it. We're running out of lockers. We're having to double kids up in our freshman locker room, and so that to me is exciting. Our junior high numbers are big. Our camp numbers this summer with elementary kids were as big as I've ever seen them. So there's a lot of excitement, in our community around football. And then we're seeing. So you talk about the numbers on the varsity. Well, and I don't know exactly where we're at right now, but I probably have 15 to 20 more players right now than I had last year, and that is, and again, I think that goes back to a culture that we've created. I think the success we've had over the last 2 or 3 years has added to that. But we've got seniors in our program who have stuck it out, and in years past, there were times when if a senior wasn't getting a lot of playing time or it wasn't, they would go do something else. They would choose to do something else, and we'll lose them as juniors. If you're a junior on the JV, well, you can look at, and this is what we're trying to create numbers. So that I can play multiple sub-varsities, which we do. We have 2 JV teams. We've got 2 freshman teams. We could probably, and we're looking at, is there a possibility for us to make 3 freshman teams? And nobody really in our district outside of, you look at Highland Park and Jesuit, outside of those 2 programs in our district, nobody has that. And so we play these pirate schedules. But I really believe that it's important for the future of our program, for the longevity of success, because as I create more teams, I get more kids now that are getting meaningful playing time. Whether you're a junior on the JV, getting every snap, meaningful snaps, trying to win football games rather than being up at the varsity level on the sideline. And so I think we're seeing the benefits from that. We've got a big senior class, and that is so fun because to me it says, okay, here are kids that have been in your program for 4 years and they still enjoy it,
Yeah.
And so we're excited, man. We're excited about that. The sideline does look bigger. It helps us in practice. It helps us with a lot of different things.
Yeah. You'll like that I went over to the JV because I got a daughter JV cheerleader over there to check that game out over at the B field at Berkner. And I walk in and it says, home 28, visitor nothing. And I thought, oh my gosh, has Berkner figured it out? We're in trouble here. But I guess it was not Berkner, and it was Poteet, and they have like the same colors.
Yeah.
And we were actually the home team. But
Right.
there were some guys on that roster, even JV, I couldn't get over the size.
Right.
There were some guys making great catches and plays. There was a guy with a good nickname, 55, they call him Goose. Goose was making plays all over the place. I think he plays offensive line and defensive line. So you got some guys on the come, and so program's looking good. Now we'll always kind of look ahead a little bit. Flower Mound, I wanted to kind of check them out last week, and they kind of hung in there. I think took one on the chin, about 37-21. I think maybe the score of that game. What do you, and I know as you get into the week you could do more, but I know you kind of were able to scout them the other night. What have you kind of figured out about Flower Mound? When I think of Flower Mound, Marcus and Flower Mound, I think of like aerial attacks in the past. I don't know exactly if that's what they're doing these days.
It's very similar. So they are, of course, it's a big school. 3,500, 4,000 kids. I mean, it's a big school. They've got a big program. They do a great job. They had a quarterback last year that was division. I think he went to Oklahoma, or I'll have to go back and look. But he was the real deal. Well, they've got a kid now that can spin it. They've got big tall receivers. Offensive line is huge. They are and they return. So you look at the, we have 2 returners on offense and 7 or 8 returners on defense. Well, they've got 8 returners on their offensive group, so they move the ball around well. They have a great quick passing game. They have the ability to run it because they've got big players, big offensive linemen. Defensively, they're returning 5, I think, and it's it's a 4-2-5 defense, and of course we've been breaking things down all weekend, and they're good. I mean, they're a big, good-looking squad. It is going to be, it's going to be a tough test for us.
Yeah.
I'll say this: we can't turn the ball over, so we need to go in and execute our game plan. Our kids are not scared of anybody, and so that is an encouraging thing as a coach. But we need to go out and play really well. So this will be a big test for us, and then and it doesn't get any easier for us. We're in a new 9-team district now. 7-6A is added, Highland Park. So and we're really front loaded in our schedule. So we finished with Poteet, and now it's Flower Mound, and then it's Highland Park, and then it's Jesuit, and then we've got our rivalry game with Berkner. So a lot of really good football at the beginning of the year, and so we're going to need to accept that challenge and grow up really fast.
You'll be proud of me. I jumped in. I usually wait, and I was hearing rumors that the Highland Park game, maybe some of the students were buying up some of our tickets, our allotted tickets. So we did jump in. The Mosleys will make it over there. Okay, we'll make it across town, and we'll have a nice time over there at Highland Park. But you're right, though. You got to look at this game, and then of course that's going to be a lot of fun. But some great rivalries throughout the season. Now, one thing we're going to do that I think is kind of fun is do kind of a weekly unsung hero award, and I didn't know if you had a name for us, perhaps for this week.
Sure. Let's go. We're going to go with Colin Keaton.
Okay.
Colin Keaton is a senior, number 28, plays safety for us. Been in the program for 4 years, and is just an incredible kid. He is high character. He's respectful. Every day that he walks in this building, he makes us better. He makes our locker room better. Again, great teammate, and a kid that you always want, on your side. And so, the coaching staff and the players, we love Colin. His work ethic, he's consistent. He's just, when you think of whether it's a great employee or a great boss or somebody that that's going to be successful, in life, you think of a person that is built and made like Colin is. He's got a great family, and we would not be the program we are without Colin and kids like him.
Well, I love doing that, and there are people that are just part of the fabric and just kind of glue guys in the program. And if we get later in the year and you want to bring him up again, that's okay. You can win more than one unsung hero award, but it's a neat thing. And there are people throughout the program, whether it's in video. We got our man Jose hanging out with us tonight, who's had an impact on the program with a lot of things that he does. But there's a lot of folks. I had to laugh looking down at your assistant coaches and everything, and it said your video crew, and I saw a familiar name. That's pretty cool when you can have a former Dallas Cowboys player as part of your football video crew. How did you work that? Is it Micah Knorr?
Micah Knorr.
Yeah.
Micah Knorr, yes. So Micah is our head girls soccer coach. And Micah's kind of a jack of all trades. He's coached football. They played football at the highest level. He's coached and played soccer. Our soccer program, I think, is they are staged to do great things. The girls are excited about him. Our parents are excited about him, and the guy's working all the time. He drives the bus for us. He has worked with our kickers, so he's worked with Shalom. He came to us last year. He was our assistant girls soccer coach, and then of course we picked Shalom up from the side, and to go back, not to spin the whole show on. We could dub this the Shalom show, but he not only had he not played since junior high, but he had never kicked a football. I mean, he kicked soccer balls all the time, but he had never kicked a football. So showing him how to put it on a tee, showing him how to hold it to punt, all those things. So anyway, we used Micah, and he was, man, gracious to come out and help kind of put some things together for Shalom during practices and work with him to help him with, and it paid off big dividends. But yeah, Micah has offered to be our video coordinator. So on Friday nights, he runs our white and white camera. He drives the bus. He drives the team back here, and then gets in the office and uploads it into Huddle for us. We've got another teacher on campus, Brody Lyons, who is one of our AP math teachers, who is doing live capture for us up there with Micah. Mm-hmm. He stands right next to him with an iPad, and then every play that goes in, he's plugging in down and distance hash, getting results for us, so that when we come back, it's less work on us. We have some things, ready to go. So we've got, it's just like anything else. Our community's great. Our kids are great. Our faculty here is willing to help. And so, for me and for this staff, it's just, man, it's a great blessing.
It really is. We love the Wildcat Club and, boy, their support. And they've jumped on board with our podcast and put that out there. Wendy's so great over there. And Brent, a lot of the folks that do great work with the Wildcat Club. We appreciate that. One more thing, we will start as we get into the year featuring maybe some other coaches, whether it be assistant football coaches, volleyball coaches, swimming, cross country is going, tennis, the tennis team. We mentioned them in our little pre-show the other day. But the volleyball program, you got a new coach, and really seems like there's some excitement with that program.
Yes. So Taryn Parker, we hired Taryn Parker this summer, and it was actually really late this summer, but we got her from McKinney Boyd. Very talented coach, just magnetic. The girls have, the girls have really embraced her. And so she's high energy. She's all over the sideline. She runs, fun, hard, fast-moving practices. And my daughter is a senior on the volleyball team, and so I get some inside scoop there. But Ellie just absolutely thinks the world of Taryn and her whole staff. The whole staff is new. So when we were conducting tryouts in volleyball, the head coach was brand new, and then all three of her assistants, we just went and hired. We hired the assistants before we hired the head coach, which is kind of an odd way to go about it, but it's the way the dominoes fell this summer. And so when they went into tryouts, they didn't know any of the girls. They'd never seen them play, didn't know their names, and I can't say enough about how they came in and just, attacked it. Got to know the kids, and and have been organized, and we're helping them, in the areas where we can be successful. But the brand of volleyball we're playing is good. It's exciting, and our girls are just having a ball. So we, really looking forward to district starting and seeing where these girls go.
Yeah, that's got to be. With a daughter on varsity, and those games are Friday nights, and you're about to coach Friday nights, I'm sure you have to find ways to kind of check on that. But that's very exciting. We'll have to have her on
very good
at some point. And this was good. I really I enjoyed it. And people can subscribe, Spotify, Apple. It'll be on the Wildcat Club website. And appreciative to Frito Nation Productions for some of his work. We keep him off camera, but we can see him over there. But he does a great job. And by the way, he was on radio for a long time. I'm sure you remember some of Frito's work.
Yes.
Dating back to his days with the ticket. He's getting nervous for what I might say. But it's just fun, and it's good to have Jose in here tonight. And we'll do this right around Monday night. Some weeks, like the holiday next week, may come a little later. So don't hold us to it. But by Tuesday, you'll generally have the podcast, and we'll be featuring a lot of other folks. But I appreciate it. Taking people behind the scenes, and I think we'll have a lot of fun with it. I appreciate you signing up for this, because the good thing is you had a lot of time on your hands this fall, and you had asked me, is there one more thing, Mosley, we could do? And we found it.
Yeah.
Slotted you in.
Well, we had to get creative, but I appreciate you filling in the gaps, man.
Yeah.
This is and thank you, and Frito and the folks that just that want to do more for our athletic program, and football in particular. But I think this is great. I love the direction we're heading. I think this is going to be good for kids, and it's a great way for us to be intentional about featuring not only our program but some others. So thank you for doing that for us.
Yeah, you bet. I don't always get feedback from our writing or radio, but when you sign up to do a Lake Highlands podcast, you hear from a lot of people. So
Good.
people are excited and they're signing up, and we appreciate everyone who tuned in for our first Lake Highlands Boneyard podcast. From Lake Highlands, signing off. Good night.